Long before Bitcoin hit American headlines, people were already searching for financial freedom. A system that didn't freeze your account, didn't require 3 middlemen, and didn't collapse every time the economy sneezed. But here's the twist: ancient civilizations had the exact same problems. They worried about fake money, corrupt record keepers, dishonest traders, and broken trust. And the way they solved those problems, using coins, seals, ledgers, and decentralized networks of trade, slowly evolved for thousands of years until it transformed into what we call crypto today. To understand where crypto is going, we first need to understand where the concept of trust and money truly began. So let's rewind time and travel through 5,000 years of financial evolution. If you were alive in ancient Mesopotamia around 3000 BC, your financial system looked nothing like the apps and bank websites we use today. There were no banks, no credit cards, no online transfers. Instead, people carved transactions into clay tablets. These clay tablets were humanity's first attempt at an unchangeable ledger. Once you carved the record into the clay and baked it, the information was permanent. You couldn't erase it. You couldn't alter it. Everyone around you could verify it by simply reading the tablet. This was the earliest form of immutability, long before computers, long before cryptography, and long before Bitcoin. The idea behind blockchain was already forming inside civilizations that didn't even know the word technology existed. But financial life wasn't simple. Bartering goats for grain or wheat for fish worked in tiny villages, but as trade exploded across long distances, this system began to fall apart. People needed something universal, something accepted across borders and cultures. That's when cowrie shells became one of the world's earliest forms of standardized money. They were portable, difficult to fake, and universally recognized. Their value wasn't based on their material. It was based on collective belief. The same psychological principle behind crypto value through shared trust had already taken root thousands of years earlier. Then came metal coins. Ancient kingdoms discovered that metal was durable and could be shaped into standardized pieces. Kings and governments began stamping coins with official marks to prove authenticity. These marks acted almost like early cryptographic signatures. If the stamp was genuine, the coin was real. If the stamp was missing or poorly copied, the coin was fake. This was an early verification system, a primitive but powerful version of what crypto wallets do today, when they validate a transaction or token. It was the first large-scale attempt at creating a trusted financial network using a shared set of rules. Gold soon rose above all other forms of money. But gold wasn't valuable solely because it was rare. It was valuable because acquiring it required real effort. Mining gold demanded labor, machinery, time, risk, and expertise. This effort created scarcity, and scarcity created value. Thousands of years later, that exact concept inspired Bitcoin's proof-of-work system. Instead of swinging pickaxes, Bitcoin miners solve complex mathematical puzzles. Instead of physical exhaustion, they use computational power. But the principle is identical. Something that requires effort naturally becomes valuable. Gold was humanity's first mined currency, and Bitcoin became the digital version of that same philosophy. The story shifts dramatically in the 7th century, when China introduced paper money. This was a revolutionary moment. Before this, almost all value was tied to physical objects: gold, silver, shells, or livestock. But now, value is printed on thin sheets of paper. People started trusting money they couldn't eat, couldn't wear, and couldn't melt into jewelry. They believed in value backed not by gold, but by the authority of a government. That transition from physical value to psychological value was one of the most important steps in the evolution toward digital currency. Paper money was the first major experiment with abstract value, and it succeeded so well that it eventually took over the world. As the centuries passed, financial systems became more complex. The medieval Italians built the foundations of modern banking. They created systems of credit, loans, interest, and written ledgers. But even with these advances, there was a huge problem: trust. A banker could alter records. A clerk could make errors. A fire could burn down an entire financial history. People were still vulnerable to fraud, corruption, and catastrophic mistakes. Every financial system required trust in humans who made mistakes, who could be bribed, or who could simply choose to manipulate records. It became clear that the world needed something more reliable than human honesty. By the 20th century, the United States was leading the world into the digital age. Banks began using computers. Credit cards replaced cash. Online banking emerged. Money started shifting from physical to digital faster than anyone expected. But digital finance came with a new set of problems. Americans realized that although money was digital, control wasn't. Banks could freeze accounts. Governments could print trillions of dollars. Institutions could lose customer data. Hacks could wipe out digital savings. People had digital money, but they didn't have digital freedom. Then came the 2008 financial crisis. Banks collapsed. Trust collapsed. The US watched giant corporations get bailed out, while regular people lost their homes and savings. Confidence in the financial system hit a low point. And in the middle of this chaos, a quiet revolution began. A 9-page document was published by someone or, perhaps several people, using the name Satoshi Nakamoto. The document was titled Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. It introduced a new kind of money that didn't depend on banks, governments, or middlemen. Bitcoin was decentralized, transparent, limited in supply, and governed by math instead of human decisions. It solved a problem humans had been fighting since ancient Mesopotamia: trust. For the first time, you didn't have to trust a person or an institution. You only had to trust the code. Bitcoin didn't just launch a currency, it launched a movement. People around the world finally saw a financial system where the rules couldn't be changed overnight, where money couldn't be printed endlessly, and where transactions couldn't be controlled by powerful institutions. It was financial freedom in mathematical form. After Bitcoin came Ethereum, which expanded the possibilities even further. Ethereum introduced smart contract self-executing agreements that required no lawyers, no middlemen, and no centralized authority. This wasn't just currency, it was programmable money. Entire financial ecosystems were built on top of Ethereum, enabling decentralized finance, decentralized apps, and decentralized governance. Stablecoins arrived next, creating a bridge between the crypto world and the traditional dollar-based economy. They allowed people to experience the benefits of crypto without suffering from volatility. Suddenly, millions of Americans could move money globally in seconds without relying on banks, wire transfers, or complicated systems. NFTs introduced the idea of digital ownership. Music, art, tickets, documents, houses, anything could be tokenized and stored on the blockchain. For the first time in history, ownership didn't depend on paper files or third-party systems. It lived on a digital ledger that anyone could verify but no one could tamper with. Governments began paying attention. China developed a digital yuan. Europe considered digital euros. The United States explored the digital dollar. Crypto wasn't just a trend, it was influencing the direction of global finance. Even the world's biggest companies, from Tesla to PayPal to major investment firms, began integrating crypto into their operations. And this brings us to today. Crypto is no longer a mysterious technology for a small group of internet enthusiasts. It's a global financial revolution built on thousands of years of innovation, from clay tablets to blockchain, from cowrie shells to digital tokens, from gold mining to Bitcoin mining, from handwritten ledgers to decentralized networks. Every step of human history pushed us in this direction. Crypto is not the beginning of something new. It is the evolution of everything old. It is the next chapter in our ongoing search for a financial system that is fair, open, transparent, and free from the flaws that have plagued us for centuries. People say crypto is risky. And yes, it is. But so was paper money when it replaced gold. So were checks. So were credit cards. So was the internet. Every major leap in financial evolution looked strange, confusing, or dangerous at first. But history shows that society always moves toward systems that offer more freedom, more efficiency, and more control to individuals. Crypto represents that next leap. A leap that started thousands of years ago with clay tablets and ancient coins and slowly grew into a digital revolution powerful enough to change the entire global economy. And if you want a deep dive into the future of crypto, the rise of tokenized assets, AI-powered finance, and how America will shape the next 10 years, drop a comment below. Because the story isn't ending, it's only getting started.